Welcome to Eye on America. I'm Michelle Miller. Today we share stories from all across the country, from community members of all ages lifting each other up to ongoing efforts to preserve Mother Nature. We'll spotlight a unique preschool in Chicago promoting intergenerational learning. And we'll learn how climate change is turning Alaska into America's fastest growing farmland. But first, we head to our nation's capital for a look at some creative solutions to help cure America's shortage of nurses. The U.S. needs at least 200,000 new registered nurses every year until 2030 to meet current demand. CBS Evening News anchor Norah O'Donnell visited the Children's National Hospital to hear directly from the women and men known as the backbone of our healthcare system.
Oh, did you get snacks yet?
No.
They call this the wellness wagon. It's not for the patients, it's for the nurses.
Here you go. This is a lunch for me.
It's lunch for you.
It's a chance to check in on nurses like Caitlin Hall and Haley Roper.
How's your day going so far?
I think people don't realize you guys work so hard that many times you don't even have a break for lunch.
Yes, it's a job where if the people need you, you have to be there. You can't just, say, please hold,
But tackling the nursing shortage will require bigger solutions than free snacks. Chief Nursing Officer Linda Talley says it requires a care model redesign.
One idea that we're talking about right now, for example, is virtual nursing. What about a nurse who would otherwise maybe be thinking about transitioning into retirement? Instead, could we take her expertise, connect her through an iPad to a nurse who is at the bedside, needs a second set of eyes?
Some hospitals are also increasing pay, offering bonuses, or helping to pay off student loans.
In this economy right now, the issues around cost of living are weighing heavily on our new nurse graduates in a way that I haven't seen in my 34 years.
Another priority, getting more applicants into nursing schools. Tens of thousands are turned away because there isn't enough faculty. Ken White is president of the American Academy of Nursing.
Nurse educators can oftentimes make more money as a staff nurse or as a nurse manager than they can being a nurse educator. We need to right-size that, making sure that our nurse educators are being properly rewarded.
And everyone we talked to said the narrative needs to change.
How are you feeling today?
It's a hard job, but it's also fulfilling.
What's great about nursing?
I think nursing, you get all of the benefits of just feeling rewarding and feeling like you're doing something good.
We stay in Washington, D.C. for our next story that you could say is all about Furnishing Hope. CBS News correspondent James Brown introduces us to the women behind an innovative nonprofit filling the homes and hearts of those in need.
I got tired of running.
Running from?
Violence, the struggle. This was my last hope.
Hope was all homeless mom Gloria Antolon had, moving her 3 children to a new city with nothing.
Got to the point where I slept in my car for maybe 3-4 days.
And your kids?
They was with me.
You and your 3 kids in a car?
Mm-hmm.
Until they got this apartment. Watch your kids.
Oh my God!
Coming home for their first time, not to a hotel room or shelter, but their own place, all furnished for free by the Washington nonprofit Furnish Hope, D.C.
They came with a whole box truck and stayed the entire day. When the kids got home, they was like, wow.
Tell me how that impacted you.
To see them happy, I just smiled.
Furnish Hope even filled her freezer.
We discussed what was my needs, and I just say, hey, everything.
It really bothered me that she had nothing and had no one to turn to, because children deserve the bare necessities, if anything.
Adrienne Herbert helps Furnish Hope DC meet the need. You're a mother?
I am.
And when you heard those kids scream,
whoa! I melted. I cried because it made me think of my own children and some of the obstacles we've been through.
Herbert and her 5 kids live in public housing, but she spends her days here.
I'm here to support you.
Helping others, with longtime community volunteer Nikki Mock, who founded Furnish Hope. Mock, often in her own pickup, picks up gently used furniture and hauls it here, where the need is greatest. Deanna Campbell and her 6 kids lived for 7 months in this empty apartment.
It's been hard. We sit on the floor.
So, Furnish Hope filled her home and her heart.
We can have family time comfortably, like sitting, hugging each other on the couches.
Often in sight of the U.S. Capitol, the neighborhoods Furnish Hope serve can feel a world away.
In the DMV area, that's going to be a client.
Even during our interview,
You know, it's another thing.
Hold on 1 second. Darnell? Still rolling? The need kept knocking on Furnish Hope's door.
There is enough for everyone to have a comfortable home.
You really believe that?
I know that for a fact. On my way here today, around the corner from me, there is a beautiful queen mattress sitting out with the garbage. You know me, I had to stop. I went and knocked on the door. I asked if we could put it aside.
Do you know this neighbor?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, so they didn't think you were crazy coming to
They
them
did, but I do know the neighbor.
I hopped in with Mock. You've made this kind of run how many times?
250, about.
As she brought a bed to this family that lost everything in an apartment fire.
And it cost us zero, you know, it was free.
And while their neighborhood is nearly 95% African American, Tanya Silver and her son William just see someone here to help. Makes no difference what color she is?
Nope. No.
No issues there at all?
Nope. No.
And those who might have an issue with her heart wanting to help, you would say?
That's their issue. She does it from her heart.
Mock admits her heart has skipped a few beats.
That's my bullet hole. They were just, not while I was in the car, they were just trying to scare me.
It didn't work. She kept up the deliveries.
If anyone was on the street, I go, hey, do you want to make $10 by any chance? I need help getting this furniture in. It's really going for a good cause. I've never not been able to have help.
And remember Gloria, who was homeless just this summer? Now she volunteers with Furnish Hope, helping others. Even though you're just getting the footing yourself,
right?
You're excited about helping others to get the footing that you now have.
Yes.
And you're enjoying that.
Yes. Furnish Hope plays a big part, especially the hope.
And that's what these women who furnish hope by the truckload hold on to.
I hope we're going to be around for a long time.
We will.
Yeah.
We will, Nikki.
Yeah.
We have to, because we're needed.
Coming up, we take a look at a unique program that's uniting generations. Welcome back. Next up, a story about education and innovation, improving the lives of both young and old. Here's Adriana Diaz with a look inside a Chicago preschool like you've never seen before.
Bye, have a good day.
It's a typical morning.
Have a great day.
At the preschool Kindness Creators. But inside,
2 and 2 is 4. 4 and 4 is 8.
The math lessons are anything but typical.
We like to say that we are helping fight ageism, one little baby at a time.
The school is inside a retirement complex called Oak Park Arms. The kids visit the seniors down the hall.
How are you?
Good. And the seniors can pop into preschool to help teach.
Is she fun to play with?
Yeah.
Yeah? This program helps with kids being more accepting of older people and older people being more accepting with kids running around.
The idea came from teachers and best friends Pam Lawrence and Jamie Moran, who know the benefits.
I grew up with my grandfather who had Alzheimer's disease. I remember that I was the only one he remembered towards the end, and that like I'm gonna teary-eyed, sorry, like his eyes would light up when I would come in the room.
Is it her birthday today too? Yeah.
It's therapeutic for resident Ann Grassley.
Some mornings I'm not in too great shape, and then I come down here and you have to forget all that because you can see why. you just forget. You go into a different realm.
Anytime you sit with the kids, it makes your day.
Residents Nancy Thornton and Marge Schwartz say not seeing the preschoolers during COVID was terrible.
Because they would cheer you up, you know, to see their little faces and their smiles.
You missed them?
Oh, yes.
Loneliness is a killer. It's been likened to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Donna Butts runs Generations United, which promotes intergenerational learning.
For older adults, they score better on memory tests. They're more physically able as well as mentally able.
And children show improvements in language, math, and social skills.
How old are you today, Sadie?
4.
4? Yay!
Yeah, last day I was 3.
I'm 37. I know.
That playful energy uplifts Lurie Bell.
It inspires me, it motivates me, and it makes me believe in myself, and it's a good thing.
Just these 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
Do you hope that this is a model that's repeated across the country?
I think this is a way to help change our country. You know, we say love always wins. This is the definition of love, so spread it, sprinkle it everywhere.
We transition now from improving lives to protecting them. All the parents out there, listen up. As the size of our vehicles grow, so too does the size of their blind spots. Sadly, the victims of blind spot related accidents are often small children. Chris Van Cleve shows us tips on keeping your family safe.
Four-year-old Hudson Foshee was a vibrant little boy, lost in a preventable accident. In January 2019, his mother Jackie was pulling into the driveway. She thinks Hudson ran to get the mail, but from inside her full-size SUV, she says she never saw him.
I was kind of like running around everywhere looking for him, and then I looked under the car and he was there.
Vehicles have a blind zone directly in front of the hood that grows with the size of the car. Americans' shift to larger trucks and SUVs comes as deaths from these front-over crashes more than doubled in 5 years, killing over 500 in 2020. Experts say the victims are often small children.
I miss my son. I miss his hugs. I miss watching him grow up, and what would he have been? I don't know what my child would have been or what he would have grown up to be.
Inside their test facility, Consumer Reports shows us how much a driver can't see. Watch as these 4 young children leapfrog forward another 4 full spots, and they're still out of view.
I can see Dylan's head. So do we get 9 kids there?
That zone is far longer than you think.
Consumer Reports tested the front blind zones of 15 vehicles, ranging from about 3 feet for a small sports car to as much as 15 feet for one full-sized pickup.
There are the equivalent of 8 kids in front of this car right now.
I can't see a single one.
Barry Rosen is Consumer Reports Communications Director and the mom of 10-year-old Dylan, who is hidden from her view as she sits in this pickup truck.
That's insane. That's absolutely horrifying.
Consumer Reports showed us 3 different demos. The larger the car, the larger the blind zone.
Do you think there's a good enough understanding amongst drivers about the area they cannot see?
I don't think so. I think people feel actually much better protected in the larger vehicle. But what they're not realizing is now the area directly around them has been compromised. They cannot see that as well as they would have in a shorter, smaller, lower hood height vehicle.
The technology is there. It is fully affordable.
Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal is now proposing legislation to make front-facing cameras and collision avoidance sensors standard. The technology already exists, but the camera is often an expensive add-on. It's similar to backup cameras, required on all new vehicles since 2018.
Safety should not be a premium feature. It should be standard, just like airbags and seat belts.
Jackie Foshee agrees and hopes her family's tragedy can help make cars safer.
I would never want another parent to experience this. It's terrible.
Automakers tell CBS News safety is a top priority, and vehicles continue to get even more safe as automakers test, develop, and integrate new safety technologies. If you don't have a forward-facing camera in your vehicle already, safety experts and the auto industry recommend doing a walk around the car before you get in.
After the break, the new farming boom taking place in America's last frontier. This is Eye on America. The nation's largest state is also the fastest growing in new farmland. But with that rise comes some controversy. Jonathan Vigliotti explains.
Alaska's northern lights are the color of opportunity. And in the state's pristine interior, there's a new road for people to bet on.
So we're traveling right now with the Division of Agriculture through what is Alaska's boreal forest. And if all goes according to their plan, this will be turned into farmland.
The boreal forest is one of the largest trappers of carbon dioxide on Earth. But as Alaska warms twice as fast as the rest of the country, once frozen land is now thawed out and up for grabs.
I see climate change in Alaska as an opportunity to bring in more crops, to develop more land.
Eric Johnson oversees the Nenana Agriculture Project, which in October began auctioning off 140,000 acres of the forest, divided into parcels, to the highest bidders from all over the world.
Couldn't there be anywhere else that you could look to develop land for farming and not here?
This is the most suitable land for agricultural development. This is only 140,000 acres.
But statewide, the rush for land is on. The number of farms here have grown 44%, making Alaska the state with the most amount of new farms in the country. Native tribes who live off the land in the boreal forest worry the project will be abused and cause pollution.
What did this land mean to you?
This is our grocery store. This is how we grew up learning how to live off of this land.
The state says bidders are required to submit development plans, but acknowledges they're not strict.
We want real farmers. We want to provide opportunities. We can't tell them exactly how to use that opportunity. I see the lower 48 as getting hotter and drier. And we've got a lot of water and we've got a lot of clean land.
It's a new gamble for Alaska.
Is the last frontier the new frontier for farming in America?
I believe it is.
A risk not everyone is willing to take.
Agriculture is probably something we need to get into, but what does it look like? It doesn't look like this.
We close our show off the Gulf Coast of Florida, where oyster reefs are at risk. About 85% of the world's oyster reefs have been lost over the past 2 centuries. Mark Strassman dives into a conservation project working to restore the local oyster population and their ecosystems.
Growing a 3-inch oyster, traditionally a wild oyster, 3 inches takes 3 years.
Pascal Gibson, a commercial fisherman, grew up on these waters off Florida's panhandle. Its oysters used to feed his family. That stopped a decade ago.
Zero industry today.
Nothing.
Nothing. No commercial harvest of wild oysters.
Oysters matter. We eat them. They're an estuary's cleaning crew. One adult oyster filters 50 gallons a day. Oyster beds break waves, protect shorelines from erosion, and create habitats for fish, crabs, and shrimp. But for commercial fishermen, Florida's Gulf Coast is no longer their oyster.
What we didn't see is oyster habitat.
Ann Birch works for the Nature Conservancy, a global conservation group steering a multi-million-dollar project to resurrect oysters here.
Clearly, everything was in rough shape.
Yes, and the oil spill only enhanced it.
Day 44, the latest attempt to contain the spill hits a new snag, and the oil spreads ever closer to Florida.
Crude oil gushed like a gaping wound into the Gulf for nearly 5 months in 2010. And I remember watching it bleed ashore.
All this oil, this is so heavy I can barely lift it, is part of a 16-mile slick that currents out here in the Gulf are now pushing to land.
BP was found criminally and civilly liable. The company had to fund a $20 billion compensation fund for affected states like Florida. $13 million of that paid to restore these oyster reefs, even though oil never reached these waters. Late last year, cranes on barges began building oyster reefs. No one could guarantee the oysters would give these waters a second chance. Oyster larvae need something to cling to, like rocks, then grow on top of each other. Think oyster condos.
This is exactly what we want to see.
At low tide, Birch and I waded out to one of the 33 new reefs. They stretch almost 7 miles.
This is a rock from one of the restored oyster reefs that have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 oysters already settled on it.
These oysters will be for habitats, not harvesting. No commercial fishing. About that, Pasco Gibson says there was zero community pushback.
I don't want to see the place I grew up, where I still make a living today, go away.
Already noticing a big difference.
Already noticing a big difference.
Gibson hopes commercial fishermen will see fish in greater numbers here. Conservation is a long game. Evaluating meaningful progress here will take years.
Do you see some poetic justice that this environmental restoration is the outgrowth of an environmental disaster?
Well, certainly, it is really important to use that money in the way that will restore the system that was harmed.
Maybe for the first time, building coastal condos means environmental progress.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news 24/7, stream us right here on CBS News. I'm Michelle Miller. Thank you for watching Eye on America.
Sponsored by United Healthcare Medicare Plans. Get Medicare with more.